Welcome, chefs, to the election town hall for Vice President of Northeast Region position. I'm Robert Waljasper, CEC, CCE, AAC, member of the ACF Nominations and Election Committee for the Northeast Region. Today's candidates are Ray McHugh, CEC, AAC, and John Selleck, CEC, CCA, and AAC. Let me review the guidelines for tonight's town hall. The town hall will be live and will be 1 hour in length and moderated by a neutral individual. Tonight's moderator is Sarah Solomon from Solomon Productions. The town hall will be recorded and, once completed, posted on the elections page. All attendees must be ACF voting members and have pre-registered. All registered attendees will be given the opportunity to send in questions prior to the town hall, which will be asked in the order they were received. A question from someone that identifies as anonymous will not be recognized. At the beginning of the town hall, each candidate will have up to, but no more than 3 minutes for an introduction and statement. A coin will be tossed or equivalent as to which candidate goes first to respond. Questions received in advance of the town hall will be asked first. Should time allow, questions will be open to all on the call via Zoom question and answer box. There will be one question allotted per member. Additional questions will be allowed by the same member once all questions have been asked. Questions may be directed at one or all of the candidates. This must be stipulated when the question is posted in the Q&A section of the Zoom platform. Questions will be asked in the order received. Each candidate will have up to 1 minute to respond to the question. If a question is asked of all candidates, once everyone has responded, the candidates will have an opportunity to speak again for 1 minute on the same question in the order that they were called upon by the moderator. The question and answer portion will continue for 40 minutes, allowing for the candidates to have a 2-minute closing statement. Board of Director candidates are free to attend other candidate town hall segments as members and will not be recognized and cannot ask questions during the call. Recordings from the town hall meetings will be posted on the ACF Elections webpage. And Sarah, I now turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Chef. I appreciate the introduction. And as mentioned, my name is Sarah Solomon, and I'll be moderating today's town hall. So I'd like to begin by welcoming our two candidates to join me, Chef McHugh and Chef Selleck. And what I will do is I'll go ahead and use a randomizer website to simulate a coin toss, and that will determine which candidate will give the introduction first. So let me do that now. And Chef Selleck, you are going to start with your introductory remarks. You've got 3 minutes to give an introduction. I will begin the timer, and your 3 minutes starts right now.
Thanks, Sarah. Good evening, everyone. My name is John Selleck. I am running for Northeast Vice President, and I would be honored to serve you in that position. Prior to this campaign, I served as chapter president of the ACF Cleveland chapter. It was a chapter that experienced incredible growth over the years. We grew from 93 members to one point just before the pandemic over 200. And I believe we did that through making our chapter stronger through offering certification exams, competitions, and having dynamic meetings. I also did that by growing a very dynamic board with diverse members who brought great ideas to the table. And that's what I want to do here as your vice president. I want to work on making the chapters stronger. I want to have us collaborate and work together. Chapters that are maybe suffering in some areas, who can I connect you with? How can I come down and help make these chapters stronger so we can support our members? Some of the other work that I did as chapter president, especially during COVID, during the hard years, I worked with other chapter presidents to create virtual meetings to make sure that our members were staying engaged and that they were receiving continuing education hours to maintain their certifications. Locally, I also organized weekly feedings at a homeless shelter. A lot of our chefs were out of work, and I was really concerned about their mental health. So I brought them in every Tuesday to a homeless shelter where we fed 100 people every day lunch, kept their creative juices flowing, and also be able to take food home to their families because at that time many people were unemployed. Many of those chefs that I worked with, we still stay in contact with. Some of the chefs through networking got better jobs. Some chefs continue that good work. One of the chefs that was helping out every Tuesday took on a position similar capacity, working currently at a sober home that supports the LGBTQ community. Really important work. And after that, recently, I worked together organizing a group of chefs and created chapter supporting chapters. I remember being in my son's parking lot on a Friday. I was picking him up for the weekend, and I was talking to Chef Greer and Chef Jay-Z on what we can do coming out of COVID to make our chapter stronger. That's the work that I want to continue to do as your vice president. I don't want to duplicate that work. I want to continue to grow. And with that, I hope to receive your vote. Thank you, Sarah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chef. Chef McHugh, it is now your turn to give a 3-minute opening statement, and your 3 minutes starts now.
Thank you, Sarah. Hello to everyone out there, all my colleagues at the American Culinary Federation. Thank you for attending tonight's town hall. It's with great enthusiasm that I am running for vice president of the Northeast region. If elected, I believe that my values, skills, and vision will complement the ACF's efforts to uproot our profession. Specifically, my firsthand experiences, community outreach, and volunteer work allows me to bring a unique perspective to conversations pertaining to the future of ACF. I am acutely aware of issues related to the food service industry, advocacy, and opportunity, and I am intention about recentering the ACF as the leading voice of our professional practice. I've been involved with the ACF dating back to when I was a student in the late 1990s, and over the last 15 years, I've been actively involved in the Rhode Island chapter, serving several board positions, and I'm currently finishing my second term as the chapter president next month. I've also been active throughout national ACF through competitions as well as World Chefs. Recently, I've taken notice of areas that our association could be made better. I'm passionate to further unify the American Culinary Federation through involvement in new membership, as well as participation in many culinary school events, both secondary and post-secondary. In addition, I strongly believe that the current state of our industry taking place is detrimental to all professional chefs, not just ones in ACF. It is my intention over the next hour for you to get to know me a little bit more. Thank you, Sarah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chef. So now we will go into the Q&A period with the questions that were submitted prior to today. Questions will be asked in the order they were received, and each chef will have 1 minute to respond to each question. If the questions come from a chef that's specific towards one of our candidates, then we'll ask that candidate the question first, but our other candidate will also have an opportunity to respond as well. Okay, so let's get started with our pre-submitted questions. And our first one comes from Chef Frank Leek, and he asks, when running for office, candidates are judged in 2 ways: the position they take on issues and the leadership qualities and experience they would bring to the office. Please identify 3 key areas within your platform and identify how your leadership will enable you to accomplish these. Let's go ahead and start with Chef McHugh for this one, and you've got 1 minute to respond.
Thank you, Sarah. So my 3 key platform issues that I'd like to identify tonight is 1, working on increasing the funding for the ACF. I think that we need to work collaboratively with our corporate sponsors to highlight their products and uses, collaborate with other organizations to host town halls and increase awareness of issues affecting chefs while encouraging them to contact their local state representatives. 2nd, increase membership participation. Increasing communication to chapter presidents so that they can further relay the information to their members and their local chefs. Encourage members to get certified, further promote competitions with corporate sponsors, and continue efforts to investigate the feasibility of implementing new programs for ACF members. My last platform key thing that I'd like to talk to you about is promoting transparency throughout the ACF National Board and ACF as a whole. We can do this by creating online surveys where members can submit their concerns who are unable to attend such events like a national convention or a meeting in a public forum.
Thank you. Thank you, Chef. Your time is up for this response. Thank you. We will now go to Chef Selig for the same question. Would you like me to repeat the question for you, Chef?
Yeah, one more time, please.
Sure, you got it. When running for office, candidates are judged in two ways: the position they take on issues and the leadership qualities and experience they would bring to the office. Please identify 3 key areas within your platform and identify how your leadership will enable you to accomplish these. And you've got 1 minute to respond, starting now.
Well, I think the 3 areas I want to work on are strength of the chapter. I also want to work on certification. Certification's been very good to me in my career. I think it's important. I think continuing education is important. And I know, and I think that's what has made the Cleveland chapter stronger. And I also want to work on working collaboratively so we all can achieve that. I want all of our chapters to be strong. I want to tell you, I don't really have a campaign platform outside of that. My campaign is there's work to do, and I want to get us together and continue to work. Really work on making the chapter stronger. One thing I will promise you is I'm not going to talk about growing membership. Every time I get on a regional call or a national call or I go to a national convention, it's like all we do is talk about growing members. I'd like to change that conversation instead of making our chapter stronger, creating dynamic meetings, and then the members will come. And that's what I want to work on.
Thank you, Chef. Chef McHugh, any additional comments you'd like to make on this question?
No, not at this time.
Okay, Chef Selig?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, great. We will move on to our next pre-submitted question. This one comes from Chef Derek Ivansick, and he asks, how do you plan to support leadership in the local level, and what actions can you take to strengthen our federation within the region? Let's start with Chef Selig for this question, and you've got 1 minute to respond, starting now.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, I'd like to continue the work that I've been doing through chapter supporting chapters, where we got everyone together on virtual calls and even took time to meet at the national convention, getting the chapter leaders together. I also feel like I can support the chapters in person thanks to my current role as the director of culinary for METS. I currently travel the Northeast region and beyond, and I'm hoping to make it to in-person meetings whenever I can. I'm currently up here in Upper New York, and I'm near Rochester chapter and also the Syracuse chapter. I'm sort of in the middle. Like I could very easily give David Casper a call or James Webb a call and ask, can I stop by and support your chapters, or maybe even meet those leaders in person. So again, that's how I'm looking to support us and make us all stronger.
Thank you, Chef. Chef McHugh, would you like me to repeat the question for you?
No, I think I got it, Sarah. First, it's a great question, and I believe that the Northeast region is already one of the strongest regions. But if elected, I'm going to seek out chefs for the right roles as far as representing the Northeast region on national committees. I believe that this move will be most decisive and will have a greatest impact. I'm also looking to create a roundtable of trusted advisors, possibly pairing new chapter presidents or chapter presidents of smaller chapters with former chapter presidents of active and stronger chapters, and really get an inside look at governance and management. In regards to making our region stronger, ACF has partnered with the Epicurean Club for the last couple of years, and we have been able to pool our resources and do a co-fundraiser that has actually been beneficial to both of our scholarship funds. It's been so successful, we've gotten the New Hampshire chapter involved as well this past year. In January, we hosted a 4-chapter event sponsored by Smithfield Culinary, where we had the pig puzzle. They had the director of research and development come down and break down a whole 300-pound pig and talk about versatility.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, great.
Thank you so much. We've hit. Would Chef Selig like to make any additional comments on this question?
No, just I just want to, I guess, touch on some of the work that we've done to show an example of working collaboratively I talked about how our chapter grew in certification and competitions, and I couldn't have done that on my own. Like I did that thanks to the help of chapters from like the Columbus chapter and the Pittsburgh chapter. And that's just that work made our chapter strong. And that's what I know is the winning formula. And that's where I want to get with the chapters in my region to help them support them in the same way.
Thank you, Chef. Chef McHugh, any additional comments on this question?
Just to support the Baltimore chapter in the recent upcoming April 1st event, their full day symposium, events like these will continue to keep us strong and viable.
Wonderful. Thank you both very much. We will move on to our next pre-submitted question. This one comes from Chef Christopher Galarza, and he asks, with the country beginning to talk about a world without cooking on gas, how will you help lead the Northeast region in finding a new way forward and catch us up to how our brothers and sisters overseas have been cooking for decades? So for this one, let's start with Chef Selleck.
I love the idea of having sustainable kitchens. Many of the corporate partners that my organization works with, sustainability is top of mind. And I've had these conversations with my leadership that our next opportunity to have a new build, I would love to create an electric kitchen, a kitchen without gas using induction burners inside the kitchen. I do think it'll take the hard part might find a chef that will embrace that. I think would be an incredible opportunity taking on that technology. It's just the way forward. So I look forward to that. I remember one time eating at the Purple Pig in Chicago, and I saw a peek in their kitchen, and they were firing everything on induction burners. So I know you can create quality food off of induction.
Thank you, Chef. Chef McHugh, would you like me to repeat the question for you?
No, Sarah, I'm good. Start.
Yep, go for it.
There's no simple answer to this question. I was recently just judging the Southern European Culinary Cup in Greece last month, and all the equipment was electric. If this is to happen, in the near future, I don't, from what I've gathered in my readings and research, it won't likely happen, the experts say, until somewhere around 2040. But however, if this is to happen in the foreseeable future, my recommendation would be to get several chefs who have been cooking on electric and induction and do various webinars and training for chefs and what they can come to expect from this change.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any additional comments from Chef Selleck?
I would love to find presenters that can show us the new ways. And when you think about technology, like I imagine most of us are cooking sous vide. I know in my operations, I have a lot of the high-speed ovens, the turbo chefs and/or Mary chefs. Even microwave cooking technology has come a long way. I made a microwave cake with my son a few weeks ago. I put the cake batter inside of one of those foam chargers, foamed it in, microwaved it. It was the best cake we ever had. So I love the microwave.
Thank you, Chef. Chef McHugh, anything additional you'd like to add?
Unless the electricity that's being produced in the USA comes from a clean source, natural gas bans will simply just shift the emissions rather than reducing them. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay, thank you both. We've got another pre-submitted question. This one is from Chef Michael Herons, and he asks, certification is one of the key member values the Federation promotes, yet the industry is not consistently embracing it as a hiring qualification. There are a few companies that do. If elected to the board of directors, what do you see as your responsibility to mark the value of certification to employers, creating a greater demand for one of the Federation's primary products? So Chef McHugh, we'll start with you, and your 1 minute starts right now.
The practicality of certification also depends on your employer or prospective employer. And I would partner with many of our industry's partners to convince them that the value of ACF certification. More employees need to incorporate ACF certification into their job descriptions. I think we also need to persuade the US government to see the value in ACF certifications. I pose this question to the members. Why is it that a barber needs a license to cut hair in any town in America, but anybody can walk in off the street and prepare food for the public? There's something seriously wrong with that picture. By having companies require their employees to be certified and possibly have them pay for it, makes ACF certification a great credential that verifies a chef's knowledge, skills, and abilities to perform at any specific level.
Thank you, Chef McHugh. Chef Selleck, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, thank you, Sarah. Ray, I appreciate the shout out to my father. I'm a son of a barber, and I agree with that 100%. I'm very fortunate to, for the past 20 years, work for an organization that sought out certified chefs. I've been able to move up in my career thanks to being certified. And I also feel very fortunate to be surrounded by leadership that does respect certification. So I do think it's important. I think we need to continue to work with other major organizations, places like the Marriott and Hilton, and show them the value of having a certified chef. So it can really increase more opportunities for us to grow in our career and increase our salary. I know some people think that certification levels are maybe slowing down or whatever, but this past year I've interviewed 3 people that said they were certified chefs, and during the interview there were some red flags. There was something about them that didn't speak of a certified chef, and I went onto the website, entered their name, and they were not certified. So we have people out there that want to be certified, and they see the value of certification even though that they're not certified. And I want to thank Kiwi Herman for sending them an email saying, please stop using that certification. You're living on stolen valor.
Thank you, Chef. Chef McHugh, anything you'd like to add?
Yes, I mean, John, I agree with you 100%. ACF certification, what makes it so unique is that it's the ongoing requirements to maintain that designation. And many employers know that ACF certification recognizes a working professional has completed and evaluated their ability to do their job. I too have been able to move up my career due to certification, and I take great pride in that.
Thank you, Chef. Chef Selleck, anything you'd like to add?
I just want to say how, again, I always talk about how great certification has been to me. And recently my chapter, thanks to the certification evaluation we posted, I've seen some of my local colleagues become certified. We get, more every year. And I feel proud to be able to support that, whether I supported them in any kind of mentorship or even help putting the practical on so they can become certified. So again, as I mentioned earlier in the beginning, certification is part of my goal to make our chapter stronger.
Thank you both. Okay, now we are going to dive into our live Q&A component. So this is where we're going to be accepting questions coming in from the audience. So we've got a question here from Chef John Griffin. He says, how would you help young cooks who are not culinary students to think of the ACF as an organization which would help them enhance their goals? I speak of women and Hispanic cooks in particular. Okay, so Chef Selleck, we'll start with you, and you've got 1 minute starting now.
I think the most important thing is to make sure they're invited to the meetings, whether they're a member or not. Like the meetings, our organization should be inclusive. And that's part of how I grew our chapter, is inviting people to the meetings for free, even though they weren't a member. Eventually, they'll become a member. And, supporting the young cooks, I think, what's so important to the ACF is the networking. And, I always say, we should not be ashamed that, we're a peer networking group. And that's where most of our growth as a professionals will come from, is, who and getting those young cooks, whether they have a formal education in the kitchen or not, is getting next to people that can help them grow my career. I learned a lot in culinary school. I learned even more once I got out of school and started working next to certified chefs.
Thank you, Chef. Chef McHugh, would you like me to repeat the question?
Sure.
Okay, the question is, how would you help young cooks who are not culinary students to think of the ACF as an organization which would help them enhance their goals? And I speak of women and Hispanic cooks in particular. You've got 1 minute starting now.
So over the last few years in Rhode Island, we've been fortunate to partner with many, many non-for-profits. The Rhode Island Food Bank and Farm Fresh Rhode Island are two that come to mind. These nonprofit programs have culinary programs for the disadvantaged, getting people into our industry. And we've had several chefs do presentations and given tours, and even employed some of these prospective people. it's a great thing to be a part, using ACF as a resource to really be the center voice or the main voice in our country is extremely important to me. I think that this is a great opportunity that we haven't even begun to see the potential to come from.
Thank you, Chef. Chef Selleck, any additional comments?
I do not, Sarah.
Okay, Chef McHugh, any additional comments?
No.
Okay, we are going to move on to our next live question. This is from Chef Autumn Patty. She asks, if elected, how will you directly engage, support, and truly represent the chapter's members within the region and beyond? So Chef McHugh, we'll start with you, and you've got a minute starting now.
I really would have to say that we have to be more diversified and inclusion. And I came up with this tag slogan called We Chef, objectively understanding inclusion, culinarians helping each other's fulfillment. That's what ACF should be all about, helping each other, push each other to become better chefs, better community leaders, and really being the focus on helping everybody rise up. You're only as strong as your weakest link in the chain.
Thank you, Chef. Chef Selleck, would you like me to repeat the question?
Would you please?
Sure. If elected, how will you directly engage, support, and truly represent the chapter's members within the region and beyond?
I really think, thanks to the career I have as a chef on the road, and again, traveling this region, that I'd be able to get out and personally meet the members in the region through their meetings, or even just connecting in person if I happen to show up on a Wednesday or something. I think that's so important. A lot of good work has happened these past couple of years, thanks to the current board, of having these, they're like quarterly calls. I remember when they first started 5 years ago, there was really low participation. But over the years, they've kind of gotten together and they've been more engaging, and they've gotten some members on. And it's a great way to kind of keep everybody informed. It's often a call full of chapter leaders, but it's also invited all members. And I think that's a great word, great work. And I want to keep those calls going. And just listen to everybody in our region and see what we need to do.
Thank you, Chef. Chef McHugh, any additional comments?
No, I mean, even the smallest voice should be heard in regards to issues that affect all members of the ACF.
Chef Selleck, any additional comments?
No, I agree with you, Ray, on that. Absolutely.
Great. Thank you both. Okay, so we've got another live question that has been submitted by a member that has already asked a pre-submitted question. So I'm going to give it just a couple of seconds here to see if any new members that have not asked a question yet are going to join us in asking questions. And if not, then we will go through and some of our repeat members that are asking questions. Okay, so let me just give this a couple of seconds here. Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and, we just got one. This is why I wait. Okay, so we've got a live question by Chef Michael Rigberg. As a representative for ACF in your region, there are times and situations where chapters in your region experience ethical challenges within their chapter. How will you support these chapters, and specifically, what can you offer to them in your experience? So Chef Selleck, let's start with you. You've got 1 minute to respond.
Well, when you're speaking of ethical behavior, it almost sounds like in my role when we have HR issues, and for over 20 years working for large corporations, I understand the importance of working professionally with, let's say HR or ethical issues. I would like to work directly with the chapter leaders, and potentially it depends on the situation, on how they're involved, to make sure we're able to navigate that situation. I've been fortunate. I have never had a ethical situation or charge I've been a part of as the ACF. I guess I've kept my nose clean. I guess I'd like to, model behaviors that I want to see out of others. And it's just, again, work and collaborate with the chapter leader on that situation.
Thank you, Chef. Chef McHugh, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, Sarah, thank you. But I would agree with Chef Selleck. I would remind everybody of the Culinarian's Code. This is key to understanding, what we stand for and the high standards that we have within our organization. And I've been blessed to work for Ritz-Carlton for many years before teaching at Johnson and Wales and working in union environments and dealing with challenges day in and day out. So I know ethical issues and things that affect people that some people might just brush off as, oh, what's the big deal? But really, let's keep things professional, and remind people that they're held to a higher standard than just anybody out there. I would work passionately with the chapter leaders and reminding everybody and reiterating it and challenge them to come up with their own mission statements within chapters to include ethic issues.
Thank you, Chef. Chef Selleck, anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you, Sarah.
Okay, Chef McHugh.
Nope. Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, on to our next question. This is from Chef Renee Raraway, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. If you want members to have a voice, why then are members who attend the national convention not allowed to have a voice during the Board of Governors meeting? Do you agree with this? If not, what would you do to change this ruling? And Chef McHugh, we'll start with you.
So to some degree, I do agree with this ruling because it can become a out of control without having an agenda. I feel that all members should take to their chapter leadership and bring their concerns to the Board of Governors. But I think that if elected, I would allocate some time during the Board of Governors meeting for national members. Be it 5 minutes, 10 minutes of a Q&A that members may have to be addressed. Every voice needs to be heard within our organization. So I could see why some people say no, but I would also be willing to allow time for members to have comments and concerns be addressed to the Board of Governors.
Thank you, Chef. Chef Selleck, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I believe I remember it. I do believe some things maybe need to change to make sure those voices are heard. I agree with Chef Ray that the membership needs to talk to their chapter leadership, and that leader needs to bring it to the Board of Governors meeting. Now, the problem with that is the Board of Governors only meet once a year at the national convention, and then they often have to pay $4,000 to $5,000 to get there or send a proxy. That also spends $4,000 to $5,000. And with my work with supporting chapters, I've heard that some chapters don't have that money. So we need to figure out ways that the Board of Governors has more power and has their voice heard in the ACF. And with that, those members, there need to be forms of communication within the chapters that they are heard.
Thank you, Chef. Chef McHugh, anything you'd like to add?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Chef Selleck?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. We are going to, let's see here. I'm going to give it another second or so. Stand by. Okay, it looks like we're getting some questions from repeat members who have asked questions before, so I'll just go ahead and start with Chef Michael Parents asks, within the bylaws, there is little substance that governs how the administration of the Federation is held accountable. The Federation has lost members, operated in the red, and seeing sponsorship sliding south. Would you, as an elected board member, support an expansion of the bylaws to include a revision of or creation of position descriptions with specific goals, objectives, and accountability for both elected official and office positions? And Chef Selleck, we can start with you on that.
Yeah, Chef Michael, I agree. If the current bylaws state that the regional vice presidents, their main function is to host the regional conventions, and we haven't had a regional conference in a while. So the past number of years, we have been flying regional vice presidents into conventions and in-person board meetings. And I feel like it's a waste of money. I feel like the board positions need to be reevaluated. Like, do we need 4 vice presidents if they don't really have much responsibility in the bylaws. Now, I know the vice presidents have been doing some work, but by the bylaws, there haven't been any work. And so it's definitely time to look at that. And I'll tell you, I'm running this position because I want to do the work to make our region stronger. I'm not here for the title of vice president. I don't need the title of vice president. I don't need any more accolades. At this point in my career, I can sit there and tell you that I don't need the ACF, but I am here because I want to help other people because I feel like they need the ACF, and that's the work that I want to do. So I would definitely look into what bylaws we could change to make this chapter or make this federation run more financially sound and more stronger.
Thank you, Chef. Chef McHugh, would you like me to repeat this question?
No, thank you, Sarah. I'm in total support of revising the bylaws. The only way our organization can grow and change is looking at the bylaws as a living document that evolves with time. I completely understand us operating in the red. Everybody's aware of that situation. I'll try my best to partner with corporate sponsors and promote opportunities to help restore some supportive capital there. I have a record accomplishments of proven leadership with great accomplishments that further the well-being of the Rhode Island chapter. And I'll take these ideas that I've applied to at the local level to the regional level, and if not, the national level, and really try to bring us sponsorships back to where they need to be for the members.
Thank you, Chef. Chef Selleck, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I like to add this wouldn't be my first board position. I mean, this would be my first with the ACF, but with other organizations, I've been part of boards and committees, and these are volunteer organizations. I don't need meal stipends. When I am with other organizations, they cover your travel to get there and nothing else. We need to look at ways to limit the spending. Limit the flying everywhere and the trips. It just doesn't need to be done just to sit in a board meeting and vote on some stuff. We also have to look at our policy procedures that can also supersede the bylaws. Like there's loopholes to get around this stuff. So it's time to look at it all and the bylaws currently are pieced together because we made these small changes and now they don't necessarily speak to each other. So I think we have the right people in place and committees in place, but to really take a hard look and fix that.
Thank you, Chef. Chef McHugh, anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, Sarah, I really strongly believe we have to run ACF like a business, and we have to take in more than what we let go. I was always raised to leave things better than the way I found them. And if elected, I would make it one of my major priorities on looking at how we operate and how we can be fiscally minded.
Thank you both. All right, let's go to our next question here. This is from Chef Nicholas Barrington. What would you do to support female chefs in today's industry, seeing they are the largest population growing today? And Chef McHugh, we'll start with you.
Great question, Chef Barrington. Thank you for asking it. Here at Johnson & Wales, our student population has seen a huge influx of women chefs, women students who want to be chefs. This is the kitchen is the only place in the world that we accept all walks of life, not just based on their gender or how they identify their gender, their social economic situation. If anything, and we just celebrated International Women's Day yesterday. So kudos to everybody who went out and posted. I was on social media looking at all that. I really think that women take a lead in the kitchens, and there's more Michelin-starred chefs that are women today than ever before. So kudos to them, following in Madame Brasserie, who is the first female chef to have 2 Michelin-star restaurants. Great opportunity. I'm all for it. I'm all for promoting women in food service.
Thank you, Chef. Chef Selleck, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, thank you, Sarah. No, this is a personal, important topic for me as a father of 3 daughters, and all I do is worry about their future to make sure that they are as successful as they want to be. We have to be intentional in seeking diversity and adding diversity to our board, whether it's people of color, people of certain religions, if you're a woman, a male, and also within, diversity of work experience. We have to be intentional in finding those people and saying, I want you to be involved. You are a leader. I want you to be a leader of the ACF, and grabbing those, identifying those leaders and helping them grow. I felt like I've done that with my chapter. I chapter when I was very proud as president. The chapter is actually stronger now with the new board that has come up through the ranks. And as vice president, I am going to identify other current leaders, especially women, that are going to step into my role in the future.
Thank you, Chef. Chef McHugh, any additional comments?
I just go back to the tagline that I proposed earlier of We Chef, objectively understanding inclusion, culinarians helping each other's fulfillment.
Thank you. Chef Selleck, anything else?
Hey, I got to say that I think we're on our way. It's been a slow progress here with the ACF, but just 2 years ago we elected President Brock Brown, and there's changes. It's happening. It's slow, but turning a ship like this, it takes time to turn a ship. So I really think that we're on the right path, and I want to continue to be part of that path.
Thank you both. Okay, on to our next question. This is from Chef Fernando Mojica. There has been a lot of talk about advance the young generation, and rightfully so, as they will eventually come up through the ranks. However, if elected, what would you do to support the longtime members and senior members, many of whom are pillars of ACF and were trailblazers for ACF in the industry? So Chef Selleck, we'll start with you.
All chefs, no matter the age, if you're young or old, a woman, you're a chef. There are no lady chefs, young chefs, I get it, but you're a chef. Some of the greatest work, I have to say work, but some of my experiences I had was Chapter Cleveland is, I reached out to a lot of members that were former members, and I reached out to Ruben Schaefer, sent him a birthday card. He gave me a call because I put my business card in there. And he worked for a chef who trained under Chef Boyardee in Cleveland, and we met for coffee and pie, and just a wonderful gentleman. And those are just great experience that I think chefs of all generations can listen to. I told my boss once some of the best experiences, I should say, or moments is when I go to these conventions and there's the chefs there and they have all their medals on there, and they're older than me, and I just look at those medals and just wonder the great work that they've done that their lifetime to achieve that. Just some proud work that there's just stories there that I would love to hear, and making sure that those young chefs are a part of that, hearing those stories.
Thank you, Chef. Chef McHugh.
I've been blessed to have some great mentors in my life who are what we would call today senior chefs, and I don't want to disrespect anybody with that saying, but learning from their experiences. Who better to guide a young chef than somebody who's been there, done that, and lived through those experiences, and can tell you, advise you when things are not such a, I will quote my mentor, George Opalenik, not a hot idea. Guide you in ways that really make you give you a different perspective at looking at things. Senior chefs are an untapped resource that we don't utilize enough within our organization. And we really need to bring those chefs in and highlight the work that they've done and the trailblazers that they've become to set new standards for future chefs to follow.
Thank you. Any additional comments from Chef Selleck?
Yeah, using that term, Ray, senior chefs is kind of tough. I feel ashamed to use it, but a lot of these chefs are still mentor chefs to me to this day, and that's we need to continue that.
Thank you, Chef McHugh.
No, I think I said everything I need to say on that topic.
Okay, wonderful. So we will move on to our next question. This is from Chef Joseph Leonardi. Where do you see the ACF in 3 to 5 years with the current financial concerns? And Chef McHugh, we'll start with you.
Chef Leonardi, thank you for that question. It is a great question and very captivating. There's a lot of moving parts here. In 3 to 5 years, under my leadership, I hope that the ACF is thriving and we are financially sound. We do this by any means possible, bringing in corporate sponsorship, looking at how we charge our members for their membership, diversifying, looking at our investments. I want to leave ACF better than the way I found it, and I'll do everything in my power to make that happen. In 3 to 5 years, I hope that ACF is still around and that, we are better than we've ever been before, financially, visibly, and being the center voice for everything to do with food and culinary.
Thank you, Chef. Chef Selleck?
I've heard the talk for a long time that the ACF won't be around anymore because they were, operating in the red. I think there's been a lot of good work. I look at the financial statements when I get it. But I still see a lot of good work. A few months ago, President Brock Brown had a town hall. It was more of a State of the Union, and there was a lot of things that she mentioned on that call that I remembered that I thought was good work, a lot of progress. I don't remember the number she mentioned, but she said something along the lines of like a 12% increase in new members. That's positive work, right? I mean, we need more growth. But again, I think there's a lot of good work happening. I would like to be a part of the work to continue that good work and help the ACF evolve so they can stay vibrant.
Thank you. Chef McHugh, any additional comments?
Just like I said before, we really have to, financial responsibility is everybody's priority, and run it like a business where we take in more than what we let out.
Thank you. Chef Selleck, any additional comments?
No, and I agree with that. And like I mentioned a few minutes ago in the call, looking at stipends and travel. In my organization, I get like $35 for dinner. And I'm not sure what the current stipend is for board members and all that for meals. But again, it's a volunteer organization. And can we look at having many of our meetings virtually, and where there is no cost? It's time not to be in this position for the perks. It's time to be in this position to do the work and do it for the members.
Thank you both. Okay, so we are going to go to some repeat member questions here. So this one is from Chef Derek Ivansick. We see members on the chef's table calling for more transparency from the national office. How do you plan on opening up the channels of communication so all of our membership feel that they are informed? And Chef Selleck, will go to you.
Yeah, transparency has been a big word lately. With everything that's been going on recently, and you'll see, I think we're all aware of what's been happening on Chef's Table and with the certification process lately. So the calls that the vice president regional calls are very important. I don't feel like I have much to hide. I'll probably at some times say too much, but I'll also be very careful. There's times. It's time to be transparency, but the time has to be right, because if you just start saying what you hear and hearing rumors, that's how rumors start. So being transparent might come back saying, as I'm unable to speak to that at this time, it's a fluid situation. But it's very important to be honest and transparent.
Thank you, Chef. Chef McHugh, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, Sarah, I think I'm good. I strongly believe that one of the key things I'm platforming here is transparency. I mean, besides Chef's Table, the recent statement by Chef Vernon M. Metz that he publicly announced, and the recent things that happened with the CMPC exam, really need to be looked at and really make it a top priority of my own, that we fix communication with everybody, that when there is such a prestigious exam like the CMC or CMPC, that candidates know at least 6 months in advance. And I have other objectives here and other things to think about, and bring in advisors to discuss. I spoke with numerous people within our organization, as well as had one-on-ones with several CMCs to talk about how frustrated they were in the whole process. And not to take anything away from the candidate, but it was more about how the ACF went about the process of the recent CMPC exam.
Thank you, Chef. Any additional comments, Chef Selleck?
So again, following those lines, transparent communication is important in any relationship, professional, personal. There's going to be some work to be done in this role with everything that's going on. We like to say ACF is a family. That's thrown around a lot, and we often love like a family, but times like this, we also fight like a family. But through this passion that we have, that we will come to the results that we want with this.
Thank you. Chef McHugh, anything you'd like to add?
No, I have a clear understanding of my mission, and if elected, and I will see it through to the fullest.
Thank you. Okay, so this is a good transition into this next question. It's about CMPC certification. So this is from Chef Christopher Galarza. With the latest scandal surrounding the CMPC certification, it's clear that we need to holistically look at certification within the ACF. How do you think we should tackle this? And what will you do in your role? So Chef McHugh, we'll start with you.
Very good question. A couple of things need to happen here. One, I think that there needs to be at least a minimum of 2 master chefs, certified master chefs or master pastry chefs on the certification commission. I also think that through a lack of communication, the board needs to have a clear understanding of the commission's intentions moving forward. If elected, I would suggest each candidate going for such a prestigious title as CMC have at least one CMC or CMPC as somewhat what I'm calling a mentor to guide them through the process, give them constant feedback before, during, and after the examination itself to really make sure that the candidate is aware of what's involved in the whole preparation as well as execution of the exam. So that's where I stand on that. Like I said, the relationship between ACF and AMCO needs to be mended, and this is going to take time, but I'm willing to sit at the table with AMCO and the certified master chefs and lead to a fruitful, a winning situation where it's win-win all around.
Thank you, Chef. Chef Selleck, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, thank you. I feel like I've touched on this topic a couple times in this town hall that certification is important. I think that's what's going to make our chapter stronger. I think that's why many people join the ACF is they're seeking certification. I would like to look for ways, avenues to help people become more certified. Through mentorship training. I'm not saying that we create classes that teach the test, but how do we create some seminars, whatever, to show people what certification is all about? I have to give people credit for, certification has been top of mind lately, that they're looking to evolve certification to make sure that it's still valuable in our industry. What's happened recently, obviously, they've gone about it the wrong way. President Brock Brown released an email last week talking about that some mistakes were made and offered an apology. And then I saw today that a certified master chef has been added to the certification commission. So the work is happening. The work is being done. Right now we're in a tough part. I'm hoping that we are able to look back in 5 years to see that, there was some tough periods, but we're stronger, today because of what happened in 2023.
Thank you, Chef. Chef McHugh, any additional comments?
No, I stand by what I say.
Okay. Chef Selleck, any additional comments?
No, Sarah, thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Chef Matthew Dugan. Coming from someone who works for an organization who has sponsored ACF in the past, how is ACF changing to help focus on acquiring new corporate sponsors and what they can provide those who sponsor the ACF? So Chef Selleck, we'll start with you.
Yeah, those sponsorships are definitely important. I know how important they were to our chapter, and I know that we couldn't do the convention, half the stuff we do without corporate sponsorships. I'm hoping in my role as a representative, and with a lot of the relationships I have, just in my career, that I could be also a good spokesperson to get with those decision makers in these organizations and tell them how important it is for them to be a part of the ACF. I felt like I've done that in the past with local sponsorship. We continuously get more people involved and more organizations involved. Having those funds allows us to do more. At the local level, I want to break even. If we bring money in, I want to invest that money to create dynamic opportunities for our members. And as I said before, I'm not going to talk about growing membership. You're not going to hear those words come out of my mouth. I'm going to talk about how we can make our chapter stronger so those members and those organizations will come to us.
Thank you, Chef. Chef McHugh, would you like me to repeat the question?
Sure, Sarah.
The question is, coming from someone who works for an organization who has sponsored ACF in the past, how is ACF changing to help focus on acquiring new corporate sponsors and what they can provide those who sponsor the ACF?
I don't know currently right now where ACF is pursuing what sponsors, but I'll tell you this. I've worked with many of the national sponsors, and like Chef Selleck said, we can't do it at the local level without them. They see the value of us bringing 70 chefs into a room that have purchasing power that they wouldn't necessarily get at a trade show, or the amount of money they invest. So their return on investment can be very, very beneficial to them. It also has to be beneficial to the members. Why are we going to bring in a company that has a mediocre product and promote it because they're coming to the table? It has to be a win-win situation for both the members as well as the corporate sponsorship. So if elected, I think that this is an area that I've worked with working in the past, having a multi-million-dollar food and beverage budget, working for the Ritz-Carlton, where I really understand what the sponsors are looking for and try to give it to them, and exactly on the other end of the spectrum, what the members are looking for, and give them quality products that the ACF can stand behind and really endorse and make it a win all around.
Thank you, Chef. Thank you. Chef Selleck, any additional comments?
No, thank you.
Okay, Chef McHugh, any additional comments on your end?
Yes, at the local level, I just want to say that people said to me years ago, what's the point of going after the big companies for money? And we went after them, and we were able to get quite a significant amount of money the last time we held a convention here in Rhode Island, a conference. And they stepped up to the plate with several tens of thousands of dollars to make sure that conference was a huge success.
Thank you both. Okay, we've reached the portion in the evening where we are going to have you guys do a 2-minute closing statement. You'll each have 2 minutes to do so. So with that, why don't we go ahead and start with you, Chef McHugh, and your 2 minutes starts right now.
First and foremost, Sarah, I'd like to express my appreciation to my opponent, Chef Selleck. I would also like to thank all the wonderful people who joined us tonight's town hall. The questions were captivating, interesting, and really got me to think about how I can improve the ACF. All of you taking time out of your busy schedules means the world to me, and that the ACF still has a vibrant future. I have much respect for anyone who invests in themselves as being part of the ACF, and I share with you just a glimpse of my intentions if I'm elected. And if any of you ever need to speak with me, I'm always an email or phone call away. In closing, I'll leave you with this one question. What is your favorite part about being an ACF member? I'd love to hear it. Please make your vote count and let the best candidate for each of the national positions be chosen. Thank you again.
Thank you, Chef McHugh. So Chef Selleck, it is now your turn to give a 2-minute closing statement, and you can start right now.
Ray, I'll be the first person to answer your question. The best part about being the ACF is the people I've met, and they've become professional friends, personal friends, and that's the best part I get out of it. And that's what I'm always going to talk about, is the networking that you get. Everyone, I would love to continue to do the work for the ACF. As I mentioned before, I am in the industry. I know the importance of what being a professional chef and a professional ACF chef is, through certification, continuing education, and networking. That's what I want to do. I want to represent this organization as a professional on the board. Lately on the board, it's been dominated by educators and I hate to say salesmen, but chefs that work for, or manufacturers or food brokers, whatever it is. It's time for someone to step up in the organization, because I know real life what is going on, our struggles, our successes as well. And I do believe the ACF will help continue to make this industry stronger and make each other stronger, and at the same time develop great relationships. And so I hope to have your vote. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you both. I want to take the time to thank everyone for joining, for submitting some really, really wonderful questions. This was a riveting discussion, and I hope that it was fruitful for the audience and for both of our candidates, of course. And I want to remind you that our next town hall will take place on March 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern. So we hope you register and join us that evening as well. With that, we'll turn it over to Chef Robert Waljesper to close out our webinar.
Thank you very much, chefs, for a great evening, and thank you everyone for attending. The recording for this town hall will be posted on election website page. Look forward to seeing you at future town halls. Have a wonderful evening.